see you in chat. How's everybody doing? We are here for another one of our Thursday industry chats this week. Cade Peterson, how you doing, my bro?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm okay. It's been a busy week. We're doing a lot of work, but everything is going well. You are with MidBoss, and I guess I'll let you do your own introduction. I always find that it works better that way. But tell us, what is MidBoss? What is your role there? And a little bit about the Summer of Pride event that I guess just concluded very recently last week.
Yeah, so my name is Cade Peterson. I've been in the game industry probably 12 something years. I now run a small indie game and media studio called MidBoss. And MidBoss is kind of known for mainly for this little cyberpunk beautiful point-and-click adventure called 2064 Read-Only Memories, and then there's a documentary that was also made called Gaming in Color, and we've more recently been doing comic books also based on the game franchise, and then a new game in the works, also another game in the series called Neurodiver. And the Summer Pride is a month-long event that we just finished up at the end of June. So this year was our second annual, and it's basically like a 30-day, like literally every day through the month of June, we have streamers. Last year we did 12 hours a day. This year we upped it to like 15 hours a day for 30 days, where we highlight a bunch of mostly under or lesser known games that have a lot of positive LGBTQIA inclusivity in storyline, character backgrounds, and all that good stuff. And just to use our little bit of a soapbox that MidBoss has for being well known to be a studio that specifically builds inclusive content to lift the other ones up as well. And that's pretty much it. And we partner exclusively with LGBTQIA Twitch streamers to play the games, and that way we show some of them, show some love for them. They get more awareness. We all have a good time and showcase a bunch of really excellent games. It's a lot of work because it's, like I said, 15 hours a day for 30 days. But it's been fantastic both years, and each year. This year we improved upon some of the things from last year, and we'll keep doing it. And so
now, filling 30 days with 15 hours of content, how many streamers did you guys end up having working with this year?
So this year we scheduled things a little differently. Last year we did different blocks of time, different time slots that were different lengths of time, and we tried to use that based on the games, like the game itself. If it was a shorter game that could be beat in 6 or less hours, we would just let them play the whole thing and give them a block, sometimes as long as 6 hours long, which is quite a long time to stream. Or is sometimes as short as 2 hours. But this year we decided to keep it simple, just 3 hour blocks throughout the day. So there's 5 stream slots a day times 30 days. So there's 150 slots. And we put the open call out. There was this Google form application we put out again. And this year we had, I think, 75 streamers. And so 74, I forgot. It's almost half of the number of stream slots. So every one of them got to have at least 2 stream slots, which works out great because last year we only had 30, low 30s number of streamers, and it was our first time at the rodeo, and it was a very big experiment last year. But so they got more stream slots, but also we tried to work within the boundaries of what their comfort zone of duration, because it's right. If we couldn't do 3 to 4 hours, it's hard, but we just simplified it down this year. But we had twice as many the number of streamers from last year to this year. So it was definitely interesting to get to know some of the new faces, because they were we reviewed them and checked them out before we brought them on. But it went from herding cats to herding a massive mountain of cats. But with good communication and stuff like that, it actually was way less complicated than I was afraid it was going to be. And it turned out really well. I'm very pleased with how this year went, and we raised shit tons of money for the good charities, and everybody had a really good time. So
Yeah, we'll talk a bit more about the charities in a little bit, but the one thing I'm very curious about is like how did you attract so many streamers? Like, is it just off of the profile of the last event? Like, what was the outreach? I guess for lack of a better outreach program like?
Fest or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So last year when I started, well, I guess I should say a year and a half ago, almost 2 full years ago, is when the idea came to us to do something like this. And so the first year, I spent about 6 months like going on Twitch and like specifically hunting down queer streamers. Luckily Twitch has like an LGBTQIA tag, so I could find them, and I would just watch a bunch of them, and I was not really much into watching people stream games at the time, and I knew it was a big thing obviously, but I just never had spent a lot of time doing it, because if I'm wanting to play a game, I would rather play the game than watch somebody else. But I started just getting to know like a bunch of them and started taking notes, and then I just personally, individually reached out to them on Twitter or whatever method I could find to, contact them. So that's how I found last year's people, and I also had a Google form already set up so that I could send it to them. It was not just to make them apply; it was just to collect all their information, like whatever your social links, your Twitch link. Send me a bio pic, give me a 2 or 3 sentence bio to put up, stuff like that. And then I told them, feel free to share this link with any other streamers that you feel like would be a good fit. And then so this year when I the application form again, I sent it to all the main ones, or pretty much everybody from last year, and I said, please share it with any others again. And so on Twitch, there's things called Twitch teams that partnered accounts can make, and luckily I had been been in contact with 3 or 4 of the leaders of some of the largest queer teams on Twitch. It was just by coincidence, I guess. A lot of them were streamers last year, and they just put the application out to their teams, and so suddenly I had like way more I shouldn't say applications, because we literally didn't have any barriers of entry except that they had to be identifying as queer in some way and like have experience streaming. But suddenly we had this like huge list, and we had to cut off the form like application like really quick. I think it was live for 10 days.
Wow.
And so then I had to do the due diligence of like reviewing these new people that I was not familiar with, making sure that they were, constructive, positive, fun, and, brought a different variety. And we also tried to make sure that we had a nice variety of types of people, people of color, people from different countries, genders, all of them, all the sexualities, asexuality, a good variety as wide as we could get. And then just started building the schedule. This year I learned to make sure I got more clarity on what kind of games they play, and that was some of the questions in the forums, like what kind of genres do you like to play, and besides the ones you like to play, what do you normally play most commonly, and I'll try to align games with what would be compatible, and that saved me a lot of headache later. So because building the schedule is a very manual process. Part of the application form, like also a bunch of checkboxes for like what time blocks are they free, what availability you have, and thank God we did that, and we did that the first year, but it was way more granular down to the hour. This time we just said like 3-hour blocks, check the boxes you can do for the entire month. So that actually made it a lot easier, but still there's a fine art to like finding a streamer and having seen some of their stuff before, and also looking at the form to find the compatibility of games and like trying to fine tune the right ones. I had to make a stretch for a couple of them because some of the games, for example, are very text heavy, reading, kind of visual novelty, and that's not usually something that a lot of people stream, but I think the value of those games is not lowered because of the type of game it is. In fact, some of the more powerful stories come from those type of games. So so I would just work with them and be like, hey, this is kind of a reading heavy one, is this okay with you? And usually they'd be like, oh yeah, sure. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've seen, for example, like our game has been played by some streamers who've, definitely had experience doing text-heavy games, and they're like good at throwing on voices and pronouncing the different characters in very unique ways. And then I've just gone on some Twitch streams and like thrown the game at random people, and they're like totally unprepared for it. And so I really appreciate that you were able to take that effort. Um,
Yeah.
the thing I'm very curious about now is that when you're talking about matching the games to each streamer. So first off, how many games were there, and like I assume you play them all. Like how what is your personal familiarity with all the games, and how did you decide like what's a good fit for who and all that?
So this year we had, I think, 64 games, 63, something like that. I have not played them all, but I did research on all of them to make sure that I felt like they were well received. Generally had a positive representation of the queer, stuff, which is the whole point of the, event. I did a lot of like YouTube watching other people's streams, some of the old VODs on Twitch streams, like so I could like be more familiar with literally every single game. Um, a bunch of the game, not I'd say maybe 20 something of the games were also highlighted from last year, so I was already very familiar with them, with that group of them. But we wanted to get more games in the mix this year, and so there is a lot of due diligence that goes into like getting to know the streamer personalities and making sure that we know the games well enough. The good thing about like some of the other resources that we use to like cross reference to make sure that it's appropriate for this event is there's a huge database online that is run by Queerly Represently, which is this website that like kind of keeps track of like literally thousands of games and like what kind of queer inclusivity it is. The only downside about it is that it's granular in certain ways. Like it'll say like, oh, there's like a bisexual protagonist or whatever, but it won't really go into deep detail about like, is this a positive representation? Is it like negative, or is it like kind of like a tokenism character or whatever?
Right.
And so I used that as like one way to double check myself, but also to dig a little deeper through other means, usually YouTube watching. If I didn't play the game directly, which I have done, but the quick and easy way to do it is just to dive in, like watch videos of it. We also had a game nomination form, just like last year, so that people could nominate queer games that we didn't even know about, because we don't know everything, and we want to make sure that if there's other good games out there, that we find out, and then in that little submission form, people can explain like, why is this game a good thing? Does it do these things? Last year, one of the games that was like recommended probably, well, way more than any other one, was this little game I had never heard of called Newfound Courage, and it is a delightful little 4 to 5 hour game. I don't want to spoil it or anything, but I was like, I had never heard of this. So I looked into it, contacted the dev, did a quick interview, watched some videos, and I was like, this is a perfect game for it. And it is absolutely perfect for this kind of event. So we, of course, brought it back in again this year. But, we can't possibly play everything. It's just impossible. But we do try to make sure that we don't accidentally include something that's problematic or,
Right.
Just something like that. A lot of the games do have difficult topics, because all the games are supposed to like showcase a little bit of a queer experience but to the player, whoever they are, and so we wanted to make sure that we don't shy away from that necessarily, even though some of the topics would be difficult. But um, you know, as an interactive entertainment medium, like games are pretty much the best way to tell a story that forces the player to feel things the most strongly out of any other form of entertainment. And that's a bias of mine, but I do stand by it.
No, I agree completely. I think games, I think games, well done games, more than movies or books or whatever, can breed empathy very strongly because especially where it's a first person situation. You're having to make the choices and deal with the fallouts that come with the lived experience or what have you.
Yeah.
This just the setup alone of the event sounds like a tremendous amount of work.
It is. I don't even want to try to think about or try to calculate how many hours probably goes into it. I mean, because just during the event it's approximately 16 hours of work every single day, 30 days. And I do most of the heavy lifting during the event because I want my team to keep making the new game we're working on. But another one of our teammates is the guy that built the website, and also whenever we had tweaks to the schedule or whatever, he had to be the one that pushed updates for me every other day. So there's probably 30 minutes of time for him every other day. Me vetting all the games and also vetting all the streamers, and I don't.
Yeah,
it is a lot of work. I would probably calculate at least a couple hundred hours.
I mean, you're looking at over 500 hours of programming.
Well, yeah, because it's 150 slots times 3 hours each, so that's 450 hours of literally live scheduled time. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I had never actually calculated that.
I mean, you add it all. No, that's so. This gets to the real question of it is you put in this considerable effort. You make all these connections. It's a lot of burden to take on. Why do this?
Well, I mean, so one of the reasons I joined MidBoss, I was brought in because there was a scandal with the previous people that ran it, and they asked me to come in and fix it and carry the torch forward, and it's always been a company that was building inclusive content. That's why it resonated with me. I've been a fan of it for years before that, but the reason why we particularly do this event and some of the other things that are not money makers for us, but lifting every other inclusivity content creator situation. When I joined, we had the opportunity to revisit and possibly update the mission and the vision statements for the company. What are we doing? Why are we here? And most of it stayed the same, but we did add one specifically, and it's on our website somewhere. But it basically says that we will use our this is not verbatim, but it basically says that we will use our reputation and our little bit of a soapbox as being a leader of queer inclusive game maker to celebrate and put a spotlight on other people doing the same thing. So this is probably definitely the biggest thing that we do every year to shine a light on other good content makers. And that's literally why it's a do-gooder thing that we purposely decide to do as one of our pillars of our mission statement. So it's part of what the company now exists to do.
Right.
So,
I mean, the event also raised a lot of money for charities. Can you talk? Do you know any of the specifics on the final results or?
Yeah. So last year we honestly hadn't even thought about the charity aspect, but this year everybody was like, hey, let's use this as an opportunity to raise money. So I'm like, let's do that. So Tiltify is this platform that ties into Twitch really easily, that allows people to collect money in a safe way so that the money doesn't go through the streamer's hands, it goes straight to the charity. But it also, Tiltify has the API or tech work to be able to put allow the streamer to have on-screen notifications and do all that fun Twitch streaming stuff. So when people donate, within seconds you can see it'll pop up on the screen and it'll be hey, $10 more, great, so it adds to the experience of the people opening their wallets, as well as people that are just watching. So we used that, and we originally had 3 queer focused charities, Trans Lifeline, the Trevor Project, and GamerX. But then all the Black Lives Matter stuff kind of started right at the beginning of, it kind of came to a head, I guess you could say, at the beginning of the month. And so we really quickly were we should support this too. So we quickly added Bail Project as a 4th one.
Right.
And the way we did it is we told all the streamers, like, we don't care which charity, just support a charity, fundraise on your stream. Here's 4 of ours if you want. And Tiltify is a little bit, it's not exactly user friendly to set up a team to like build a campaign, and then have people build sub campaigns under your team campaign. It's a little bit convoluted, but we provided the links so that they could, if they wanted to work under our team, choose a campaign and then fundraise, they could. The final numbers I looked at the other day for anybody that actually connected their sub campaign to one of ours came to like $22,000 between all 4 of them, between all 4 of the charities. And then, but a lot of them just built their own Tiltify campaign separately on their own, like, because a lot of them have those other Twitch teams. So I know that among our streamers, we probably had in the ballpark of like 40 to 50,000 total that was streamed like during our summer of stream slots, but weren't necessarily there. But I've actually been collecting all the Tiltify campaign links from everybody just so I can try to cobble together the numbers. But that's the rough estimate that I have, is like approximately 50,000.
That's impressive.
But yeah, like, I didn't honestly have a clue what would be possible, but people just throughout the month of June constantly shocked me at how generous they were. Like, there were some streams that would raise like $1,000 in 3 hours, like that, no big deal. And even the streamers were like shocked. They're like, wow, I set a charity goal of like $100 and they had to raise it to $250 to $500, $1,000. Like, during the stream they kept having to bump their goal up because it kept smashing it. It was like, it's just one of the most heartwarming things to see. It was fantastic. And even some of the newer streamers that, like, you know, had a much smaller following, even they were like meeting or smashing their goals, and it was like, it was awesome. You know, and considering what a weird year this is, like, I think we all needed some good feel good moments. And so I know for me personally, like, not sleeping as much as I need to run this whole event, having these like moments like throughout the whole day, pretty much, like, it kept me going. Like, you know, it really gave me the energy to keep running this thing, because it's like, I'm one of those people, I need like 9 hours of sleep, and then this event kept me going on like 5 to 6 a day at the most. But man, it was so worth it.
I saw, like, I popped in a good number of the streams just to check out what people were doing and see some of these streamers that I'd never encountered before. Because again, I'm fairly new to Twitch, both as a viewer and as a participant. And it was really fun seeing how some of the streamers would integrate the charity donations into, you know, they would, you know, have to do challenges or, you know, incorporate it using it. Those, yeah, like that. There's a lot of really fun things like that. And I think that plus the good-natured spirit of the event really kind of coalesced into making such a success for it. So I want to, I guess, ask, like, what has it been like? What has the experience been like from your guys' end? You know, working with streamers as I guess, I mean, as an event coordinator, but also as a game studio. You know, that sort of partnership is still something that, I mean, you know, where it's not like Twitch is new, right? Studios have been collaborating with streamers for a fair amount of time, but I mean, I think it's still something we're all still learning how to do right and well. So I'm curious if there's any good lessons.
So I can't come at it from a perspective of, like, you know, probably a typical game company that would work with a streamer to promote their own game, because usually that's like a situation I imagine where it would just be like a paid partnership, right? And that would be fair, right? But when I first planned the first annual last year, I wanted to put together this cool plan, because I thought, like, well, we have all the streams set up at like our core team. Like, I am not one that's quick to jump in front of a camera. I'm comfortable talking in front of a camera, but it's just like, you know, doing this like multiple times regularly throughout the week is not something that like I got so many other things to do. Like I would rather focus my efforts on other stuff. And same thing with our other core team. Like we're just not the personality that wants to do that. However, when I started building out the event last year, I had to make sure that I thought it well enough out to where like why would streamers want to work with us? What is this thing we want to do, and then try to explain it to everybody and make sure that it seems like something fair. And I think that the core guiding principle that I kept in mind was make sure that everybody involved like gets a little something out of it. So I made sure that like absolutely the streamers had to like what had to pay nothing to participate. They just had to bring themselves and like their stream setup and their audience. I would do the scrambling to go work with developers, get a like shit ton of keys for the game so that I could provide them to them, and also a couple extras for giveaways because like it helps them give the stuff away. And the one thing that we could actually provide the streamers besides game keys, which to me as a game dev doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it is a big deal to the streamers. But just bringing a spotlight to the streamers, because like if you're on camera, you generally want to be seen more, right? And so I thought like I could just see if that would be something that they would find valuable. And every single person I asked if they wanted to join, literally 100% of them both years said like absolutely, this sounds amazing. So I just try to position it to where it's like everybody wins, and I think that works really well, And then when we added all the charity components this year, I didn't even think about it last year. I was just scrambling to build the event and all, but when we added it this year, like everybody's like, oh hell yes, absolutely. So charities win, they get more views, like the game devs get more spotlight, everybody wins. Like, so I think if you just come at it with that mindset, people will join your little journey,
No, that's good advice. So then when you're I want to talk about the inception of the event, the first one. Where did that start? Why, like how did you guys come to deciding to do that? And then what was the process like, I guess, figuring out that win-win-win for the streamers in that first year and bringing them on board?
After we redid just about a little bit over 2 years ago is when I was brought in to join the company, and we went through this exercise for about a month to determine like what do we stand for, update the mission and vision statements. And once we decided to add that part where we help support other devs, continuing to make more good content, a couple months went by. We were working on like all of our projects, and we started talking amongst ourselves like how can we actually use our little bit of a spotlight to do all this, to help others, because we started including in our email newsletters like, hey, check out this other person's game, this is really rad, or do this and that, and like that was good. And same thing with social media, like sharing posts about other people's stuff, but we felt like we could, like, it was just barely scratching the surface. So we thought like, what the hell can we do?
So you go from scratching the surface to like ripping it open.
Like do some damage. Let's do some really good. I shouldn't say damage. Let's like do some good, like shit tons of good, right? Like step it up a notch, or 5, right? And being in the game industry forever, like I've been aware of Twitch for like probably 9 years. I know people that work there. The office is here in San Francisco, very familiar with it. And I knew in the last couple of years, like more companies started to put like marketing, into like taking Twitch streamers into a significant part of their marketing plan. And I thought like, well, basically what I want to do is help market other people's games. So let me start thinking about different ways we can do that. And I thought, so I don't know, I'm not exactly sure how we came to this idea of like, let's do like a month-long program. But somewhere in there, I was like, well, what if we got queer streamers and we got queer games, and then we orchestrated the whole thing because we are not the kind of front of camera people, but we can plan out and execute like a motherfucker. Excuse my language. And I'm like, well, that's what we can do really well, and we can provide marketing to help boost this whole event, lift it up even more, because that's that's in our forte. So I don't know, it just kind of gelled. I think when I started thinking about like what was needed, like we need people in front of the camera, we need content like games and then structure. I'm like, well, the holes that we don't have are the games because we want to highlight those, but we know of a bunch, and then the people to actually do the streaming. So I had to go out and like fill the gaps basically.
Right.
And when we reached out to people of devs and the streamers, like everybody was like, absolutely, this is awesome. So I don't know, it took a while because I still had to. Luckily, we started early enough. I don't know. I think I wanted to do something for the month of June because it's like Pride Month, right?
Right.
And this is the fall before it. I'm like, well, okay, we have 8-9 months. Let's do something rad. Otherwise, we're kind of failing with our mission to do this good stuff. So, I don't know. Just started doing the research. Started trying to find streamers to talk to. We already had a good list of games to work with, and we did more research on like games that we did not know because on itch.io and like the Queerly Represent Me database, you can find a lot of good stuff. But we wanted to make sure that it was positive representation,
Right.
and because there's some not so positive representation that we didn't feel like was good enough. But just started doing the work and kind of came together. I think when we had to put a stake in the ground, like, oh shit, we're actually doing this, is when it was GDC, not this year, but the last year, and we did an interview with, I think it was Game Informer magazine, I think, and maybe one other, and we were like, yeah, we're doing this, and so once the media knows about it, you kind of have to do it because they're gonna like report on it. So then it was like, oh crap, we have to build a website and finish all these other things. Mm-hmm. So. Media holds you accountable, and it's great for that, but you have to do what you say. It's not a great answer. I'm sorry, but
No. It's true. I mean, I just usually, I've said things to the media that I definitely didn't keep my word to, specifically release dates. But,
I mean,
but that's another story. So like one of the things I've found, especially in like releasing a game that talks about ethics and the choice to do something good or positive versus selfish or whatever, is that there's a relatively prevalent. Yeah, no problem.
Sorry, that was my Roomba about to start up and get really loud, so I had to stop.
No, okay, no problem. Is that one of the common themes I've seen through media and through discourse about doing things is that altruism kind of doesn't have any positive benefit for the doer. But I am very curious, like, what benefit has your studio seen? What have you guys gained from this experience? What are the net goods that you guys have done from doing this community growth, I guess, and social good?
I mean, I think that's a very, in business school they would say that would be like a soft or a squishy ROI, like to measure.
Yeah.
Like
so it's one of those hard things. You can't be like, oh well, it definitely returned like X number of sales or like 50 million or like impressions or whatever. Like it's very hard to like say what us doing social good has a benefit, but I like to believe, despite some of the things I may make my games about, I like to believe that there is some personal benefit that comes out of doing social good, and I'm curious what that has been for the studio.
I would have to say that a lot of what I'm about to say is probably guesses.
That's okay.
But I'd say probably helped influence positive stuff. So like I said, when I joined MidBoss, it was because there was like a big scandal with the company. Like the leadership had to go; they were problematic, and so we like especially for that first year that I was with it, we were still kind of like getting at more slings and arrows of that stuff. And I'm like, look, I'm the new guy trying to fix this. I'm trying to save this thing that I believe in. But it was not easy. But I would say some of the positive benefits are probably like showing the world that like we are walking the walk, talking the talk, like with this new endeavor to like give back to others in the game industry that are and support them. And I think that probably helped with reputation damage fixing or whatever you call that. I think some of the bigger platforms like Steam, for example, has allowed us to do more big projects with them. Like last October, they did a surprise LGBTQ sale for the first time ever, and it was like during the coming out day weekend, like mid October, and they actually reached out to us to. They said, "Hey, we're doing this thing. Can you please help us curate games and make sure that like all the graphics felt appropriate, wasn't accidentally problematic, you know, because they wanted to just make sure that they did something truly good without accidentally insulting, you know, whatever." And we were like elated that they reached out to us. Like, I mean, that's
it's a good relationship, yeah.
It's a big damn deal, and so I think the reason they decided to reach out to us in particular is because before that, earlier that year, we put together the first ever queer games bundles on Steam's, where we did, you know, we created 2 of these, and I keep saying I'm going to do more, but it's like I keep not getting around to it. But we created these bundles where games that we felt were positive representation games, we could bundle them together, and we could, you know, if it's us organizing it, and then working with Steam to get them to become a thing. You know, and we knew that like compared to a lot of other like queer indie games, like ours had been on the market longest and probably had the most downloads, and so we knew that like just having our game be in the bundles would help the algorithms of Steam's, which are mysterious, like help to promote the games to other people, with no benefit to us, because they're what they call the complete the set bundles, where if you already own a game, let's say you already own a game and ours is it, but you like had it shown to your screen, it would like let you buy the whole thing rest at a discount, without having to buy the game that you already own again. So we were doing that as a first step to help merchandise other games on Steam. And from that, I think Steam reached out to us to help curate with that LGBTQ sale. And then this year, when I was planning the second annual Summer of Pride, I reached out to them and I said, "Hey, I want to do a big ass like official Steam sale, like themed to go with our event. Is that possible?" And they were like, "Absolutely. It's a lot of work, but here's like," and they gave us the support to do it. And so I think it opened doors in those ways. And so I don't know. I those are some of the things that I can pretty much guarantee are direct benefits of our good actions, which helped us to just do more of this good stuff. But I'm trying to think like of other benefits that we would get. I mean, it makes us feel good. I'm not gonna lie. I was tired as hell.
Important.
I was tired as hell on the final night of the event, but I felt good. So. And I know our team does too. Like we secretly celebrate like each little win, or like I would update them on how the charity fundraising was going, and it was like a good morale booster. Because right now we are working really hard on a new game, so I know that like hearing some positive news helped them. I'm trying to think of other benefits we might have. There's probably a bunch more that I'm not even aware of. But,
right. Well, I mean, one of the big ones that you mentioned is the building good faith and trust within your fellow development community, right? And I'm curious because we, as a studio, we've been pretty hermit-like over the past, better part of the decade. We tend not to interact too much.
I was shocked when I found out you were doing Twitch stuff. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, it's a big shift.
Yeah.
But so I'm curious, like, how has that affected the way you guys make games? How has that affected your opportunities? How, what is the greater benefit of having a good social community within the development sphere? Or having goodwill within the development community, I guess.
Oh, well, I mean, I think it probably builds awareness of us because we're still like a little tiny game company, but like by the time I joined it, it was already kind of well known, even though it was so little. But like rebuilding it, because I know that like it's such a small industry that whenever there was negative reputation issues, like bad stuff, that rippled throughout. Like almost everybody knew about it, and so I think by me coming in and like setting the tone and doing a lot of this positive stuff, I think it's actually turned the tide and making everybody realize and reevaluate MidBoss as a a good entity again. So that probably helped a lot. I think publishers are just like, oh yeah, I've heard of you guys. You guys are awesome. You do quirky, crazy stuff, but like clearly make stuff that people want and people like. It actually, what we got, I was, let's see. So when I joined, I immediately had plans to start building out the game franchise that we have, the Read Only Memories franchise. And I told the team internally, I was like, we're going to do like another game, comic books, TV show, and then more steps. And we started talking to a couple publishers of comic books, and then out of the blue came IDW, which is just weird coincidental timing, but like they just love everything we do and like our previous game so much that the editor-in-chief was like, I want to make a series based off of your game. And we're like, weird. We just had to talk with this publisher, but then this other one that is actually a better fit like came out of nowhere and was like, we want to do this. So I think that those are some of the business benefits that would have maybe not happened if it hadn't been for some of the public positive stuff we do. I don't know. Like I said, a lot of this is like squishy ROI stuff, hard to measure. But I'm pretty sure that some of that stuff comes from it.
I mean, you talk a bit about correcting mistakes from the previous leadership. What do you think the long-term negative impact of carrying a bad badge on a company is like? Do you think that really trickles down to players, or is this something that stays within the development community?
I thought it would be both. Like, I thought really like players would abandon us, and the developers and the publishers would just be like, screw you guys, go away, just die. The players actually everyone actually, but the players especially have been, gamers are very vocal. They're very passionate, and so when they're feeling something strongly, they're very vocal about it. When we dropped our new trailer for the new game last year, it was the first day of E3, June, and when we put it on YouTube, like with no prior announcement, and we did the exclusive coverage with Game Informer magazine, but like there was no pre-hype at all by design. And then when we dropped this YouTube trailer and everything, like within like I think we were too busy for that week, but when we went back to look at like the YouTube comments and Twitter comments, there was just like this huge outpouring of love, and people were so excited that like the company just didn't shrivel up and die, and that they were so glad to see like the new stuff coming. And so it was shocking and heartwarming for us to realize that like people do want us to survive. They do want us to succeed. The negative voices really quickly started just going away, being drowned out, to be honest, by everybody else. That was like, thank goodness you're surviving. We really don't. We didn't want you to die. We just were afraid that you would, because like, it was very trouble from the top down of the company. So I think the industry insiders are the ones that held out longer for to disbelieve like whether things had gotten better or would be better in the longer term. But with enough time and walking the walk, talk the talk sort of actions, like I think we pretty much won over like everybody again. So just being consistent, doing the right things, and plus enough time will do it. But our fans were definitely there for us like very quickly. So, but I think they both came around. Just one took longer, I think.
That's interesting and a little heartening to hear, because like I mean, not to stray topic too much, but like we can't go a day without some controversy or somebody's getting canceled or there are a lot of torches and pitchforks out there, and it's good to hear that with the right steps, courses can be corrected and hearts and minds can be re-won, and that it's not a just I feel like it's very hard for people to accept mistakes and change and growth, as we've seen in a lot of our social culture these days.
Well, I'm very conflicted, and I always have. Well, I literally got this position because of cancel culture, like holding people accountable as they should. But the reason why I say I feel conflicted about it is because I do believe that people can learn from mistakes and improve. However, it's easy to feel disillusioned or just disheartened, because it's easy for a jerk who's a jerk to make an apology but not follow up with like actually changing and learning from their mistakes. And so, because I'm one of those eternal optimists, I want to believe that people can improve, but they got to prove it, man. They got to change. They got to do more than just speak apologies, because words are cheap, So, and I do believe that a lot of people out there that are getting canceled, so to speak, are never going to change. They might say they will, but they don't actually do it. But I do believe that some have and some will. So I think that we need to give some leeway and also like continue to hold them accountable for stuff. But I want to believe that people can change, because if you can't change people, then like we might as well just like turn it off, So
one of the things that I've really witnessed is that very frequently, people bring up and hold people accountable to issues, bring them up, the issues come to light, there's a big storm around it, and then everybody moves on and forgets, and they don't keep watching the change, if there is any. As a studio that has had a rotating opinion, what have been the practices or the steps or the methods that have, like, I guess, kept the growth visible, and allowed people to retain faith or re-find it?
I think that's easier for me to answer in the position I'm in, because I was not one of the problem people in the company. We like those two people are gone. They're out of the company. So for a new face to come in that doesn't have that history of being a problem, to come in and like fix things for the better, it's easier. However, than say a much larger company with like a problem CEO or whatever, who owns like all of it and doesn't want to step down or whatever. Like it's much harder to hold somebody like that accountable, because they are still in a position of power. They're still there. They're still calling the shots. And even if they're like PR or legal teams are trying to like wrangle them and to be like, you can't do this, you shouldn't say that, da da da. Like, you can make them quiet, but you really, I don't know. I really don't know how you could hold them accountable, except. I mean,
well, let's give them the benefit. Let's give this hypothetical CEO the benefit of the doubt, and let's say they've really come to awareness of their errors, and they're willing to grow and change. But the question is more about how do you retain public attention in a way that, like, they don't just stay with this bad taste in their mouth forever.
I mean, okay, so I would say they have to be very public and very transparent about what they're doing, state that they made mistakes, state with enough clarity to show that they fully understand what was wrong and how they're going to change it. Like, make some very clear, transparent statements, and start to do the opposite, do good, like perhaps make up for the mistakes by doing perhaps major donations to charity, or changing policies within their company to make the company healthier and better.
Right.
You know, for example, like adding diversity policies to encourage more people of a wide variety to start working for the company instead of like a standard boys club, which is very common. You know, do some major things that will make change. So, and perhaps give updates every 3 to 6 months. Say, hey, you know what? We said we were going to do this. Here's an update. We've done this, this, and this, and here's how the metrics have changed for the better. If it's an internal policy thing, or if they want to show external good stuff that they've done, big charity donations or whatever, give updates. You know, put that back out there. The PR people generally want you to just never speak about it again, but I think you should keep updating people. Transparency is wonderful. Like, it's great. And historically, a lot of companies don't like to be very transparent, but I think that that's changing, and I think that generally that's a good thing. So, and you can also have third-party neutral parties come in and like also triple check and verify it, all just to make sure it's not just a song and dance for the public, but like actually a verifiable actions that are ongoing.
These are all valuable. Cool. I mean, we're coming near the end of our time. Is there any thing you wanted to talk about in terms of MidBoss's games? We've kind of like gone all over the place, but we haven't talked about any of the actual games. What's cooking?
Oh, so we're working on our newest game. It's called Read Only Memories Neurodiver. It's in the same world with some of the same characters as our first game, 2064 Read Only Memories, but it's a very non-linear psychic detective mystery. And I can say all this stuff and it won't be spoilery because it's in the first trailer, but basically you're this young psychic agent named ES88, and you work with your partner named Gate, who is like a much more imposing character, and together you are on the hunt for this mysterious person named, or that goes by the term Golden Butterfly. And they are not a physical being, but they actually are a psychic entity that split their consciousness into 3 pieces and hid themselves in the minds of others. And you have to use your psychic agent abilities along with this little creature called the Neurodiver, who actually, you know, amplifies your psychic abilities and helps you delve into the minds of others, and you're hunting literally through memories of theirs. And you can do things like fix memories, accidentally ruin memories, break in and edit memories. The danger of that is that when you change someone's memories, you actually might change who they are, like as a person, because your perception and memory is your reality, so it has major consequences. And that's it. It's scheduled to come out sometime next year, aiming for mid 2021. And then in other news, our the fourth and final comic of the Read Only Memories series of comics, is scheduled to hit comic book shelves on August 5th. There was a big delay because of the pandemic. It was supposed to come out back in like June, but August 5th it's coming out, and it'll also be available on digital platforms as well. But and that's all I can share now. We have a couple other big secret projects that I can't talk about yet, but
it's fine.
New game, new content. If you rewind this interview, you might have gotten a hint of what's to come.
Oh, interesting. Scrub the VODs.
Yeah. But new game, new comics. Check it out. And just go to midboss.com for everything, I guess, if you want to learn more.
Right. Well, that's a lot. Thank you, I guess, for coming on the show and talking Summer Pride. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun being in the. I mean, I forgot to mention we were part of the event. I completely forgot about that.
Oh, and I would see you guys pop in there, and you guys were donating too, and I was like, "This is awesome." And you were chatting up, and the streamers love it when the developers pop in and say hi, because then they're like, I get to like ask questions, like how did they make these games, why did they make these games, and then you guys were like doing all these donations too, and I was like, fuck yes, this is amazing. I knew
Yeah.
I knew that you guys were awesome, but like you said, not a lot of people know much about you, so it's fun to see you get out there, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
it's way more fun to participate than it is to just like, I mean, and also like, there's still a little bit of like anxiety or whatever. Be like, I want to make sure that these streamers are like treating my game nice. Like, I don't want to have it handed off and then have no idea what's going on. So, at the bare minimum, I'm gonna be watching. But then they were also fun that it was like, how could I not jump in, make them eat some sour jelly beans.
Yeah, we have a very positive, fun crew. So like, and I encourage all the devs, like, hop in there, say hi, give them hints if they get stuck, or tell them like, hey, we did this because of that, or did you know this is an Easter egg over here? Like, tell them that stuff. They eat it up. They love it. So
yeah, I had a good time with that. Yeah, so I mean, we're definitely down to do any more. But I guess
same time, although I've been toying with the idea in addition to the big monthly thing, I might bring it back down to 12 hours a day just for my own sanity. But I'm thinking about doing like sprinkling some other mini versions of this in throughout the year. Like October is coming out day weekend, maybe do like a 2 to 3 day stream event, same thing, but just a couple days. Might do like a winter and a spring one. So just keep your eyes on I guess our social media to see what we announce. We haven't decided anything yet, but people want to do more. So, and the streamers are like, yes, just tell us when to show up. So I'm like, oh, okay, all right, let's do it. So we haven't decided anything yet, but we're thinking about it. Yeah.
Oh, well, right on. We had a lot of fun. I mean, we'll keep posted. Here, I'll throw MidBoss on Twitch and Twitter.
So we're on Twitch. Our account is like We Are MidBoss, but like the best one is just twitter.com/MidBoss or midboss.com for like everything.
There we go. Yeah. If folks are interested in following along, cool. I won't keep you. Have a great rest of your week. And are you guys doing okay with COVID? Like, you guys all working from home, or like what's this?
Yeah, we're all working from home. Luckily, like we were working from home 60% of the time anyway, but we're all good. I had a COVID scare last week actually, but I got my test back Sunday. I don't have it. My doctor scared me though because I had a cough and a little bit of a sore throat, and she's like, "It sounds like you have a little bit of COVID," and I'm like,
just a little bit.
That little phrasing freaks me out. So I did a drive-through test. I had to wait over the July 4th week, because I got the test Friday, and then normally it's a 24 turnaround, but because it was a holiday, I had to wait till Sunday. But Sunday, good news, so nothing happened. It was just a sore throat. I've been very locked down, so
yeah.
I was like, I guess it's possible that when I go out to my groceries once a week, maybe I picked it up, but whatever. We're all good.
Good. Glad to hear. All right. Yeah. Well, I'll let you go, everybody. I'm gonna throw it on the post stream, and then we're gonna figure out who will raid after that. All right. I'll be back on. Actually, sorry. Tomorrow at 1 we are doing Deer Hunter's NPC cameo stream. Congratulations, Deer Hunter. We'll see how that goes, and then I'll be back on Saturday and Sunday, same time, doing more normal development like you guys are used to. So. Actually, you get three days in a row of development streams. I'll see you then. Ciao. Bye.